Planning, creating your own future. In the third edition of How to Reassess Your Chess, I gave a thinking technique that I had personally found useful over the years. I felt it might prove equally useful for higher level amateurs who had been struggling to create logical plans. However, the passage of time, which always brings new experience and insight, drastically changed my view about the practicality of any complex system of planning. My change of heart came about when I corresponded with students and lovers of chess from all over the world who were obsessed with finding plans or were simply trying to grasp what a plan really was, and as a result hadn't fully integrated the imbalances into their play. By breaking imbalances and plans into two separate things, I had inadvertently caused many hardworking students of the game to lose sight of the one goal I had intended to push: master the imbalances. Though I no longer have faith in convoluted planning systems, I have retained the firm belief that fully understanding the imbalances is 100% attainable for players 1400 and up. Note the word understanding. The book trains you to recognize the imbalances in any board situation, to understand what each imbalance offers, and to know how to make use of it or diffuse it, depending on which side of the imbalance you are sitting on. Once you gain this general knowledge and integrate it into your play, you'll find that something surprising happens. The imbalances alone will tell you what to do, or at the very least will give you a firm push in the right direction. Thus, if you possess a dynamic advantage, you will know that your move needs to be dynamic in nature. A quiet positional move most likely won't address the needs of the position. If your opponent has a glaringly weak pawn on an open file, you will know that at some point you will most likely want to go after it by placing your rooks on that file. If you have a huge advantage in space, you will think twice before trading a bunch of pieces and alleviating some of your opponent's being cramped. You can call this adherence to the dictates of the imbalances a plan, or simply a logical move or series of moves. The name isn't important. Mastering the imbalances is important and makes all this other stuff possible. Need proof? Go back and look at our first 12 examples. These are illustrations of the imbalances and how to use them, but in every case the imbalances presented simple but effective plans. A series of moves, be it 2 or 4 or 8 or more, that logically makes use of your positive imbalances is indeed a plan. In a nutshell, the imbalances alone will lead you to the right moves in most positions, or even help you create a detailed plan. Let's take a look at some games where imbalanced basics and impressive plans join together as one. This game is Topalov versus Sasekiran in Sofia 2007. Topalov is playing white. White to move. Once you've read this book and fully integrated all its lessons, a glance will give you the following information. A glance at this position will give you the following information. White has an advantage in queenside space. Black has a potentially weak pawn on c7. If black pushes the c7 pawn to c6 or c5, b takes c6 will leave black with a weak pawn on b6 and a hole on b5. Black's d5 pawn is weak since it can't be defended by another pawn. Black's only source of counterplay is on the king side. Their d6 bishop, e6 rook, e4 knight, and queen are all eyeing that area. Black's b7 bishop, which is defending d5, is playing a purely defensive role. Black's dark squared bishop is giving firm support to the c7 pawn, while also playing a key role in any kingside attack that white might drum up. White's b2 bishop is inactive. Armed with this imbalanced breakdown, it might strike you that exchanging white's worst piece for one of black's best would be a great idea. And so, with no calculation, planning, or further rumination, white could confidently play the move Topalov himself chose. Bishop a3! Exclamation point. White forces the exchange of his worst piece for the critically important bishop on d6. Rook c8, bishop takes d6, c takes d6. Of course, rook takes d6 was possible, but then c7 would be a permanent source of concern. After c takes d6, that's no longer the case. In addition, the e5 square is also covered, ending any knight f3 to c6 ideas. Knight f3 to e5 to c6 ideas. Of course, c takes d6 comes with its own baggage. The d5 pawn is weak and will need babysitting for the rest of the game. Rook c1. Knight d to f6, h3. Topalov in New in Chess 4 2007 now said, "As you can see, all this is not about concrete lines, but about clear positional weaknesses. I knew that it didn't matter how long it would take me, but in the end, all the rooks would be exchanged, further highlighting his structural problems." That's a very patient approach to this position, and patience is crucial in chess. Topalov, one of the greatest attacking players in the world, is making it clear that his course in this game isn't dependent on personal tastes, i.e. attack, but rather on the dictates of the board, a quiet build-up in accordance with the imbalances. Topalov had this to say in regard to the position that would result after the exchange of queens. "I can chase away the knight on e4, transfer my bishop to b3, and sooner or later I will exert pressure with two pieces on d5 and push my kingside pawns. Okay, there's no getting around it." That was the end of quote. This is clearly a plan. But did Topalov use any strange system to create it? No, this too is based on the imbalances. He will chase away black's advanced knight by f2, f3. Knights need advanced squares to be effective, thus he intends to turn a good enemy piece into a passive one. He'll aim his pieces against the weakness on d5, and then he'll gain space on the king side by advancing his pawns there, which would give him yet another positive imbalance to work with. White's queen already controls the c-file, but now it defends e3. This shows White's intention to chase black's one active piece away with an eventual f2, f3, when the e3 pawn will be happy to have some support. And if you want to analyze this on your own, I would encourage you to set the board up and go through these positions over the board, because it will help you analyze it more. This gains kingside space, deprives the e4 knight of the g5 square, and threatens to win by f3. Knight c7 followed by knight e6 was a better setup. Knight takes h5, exclaim question mark. King f2, followed by knight f1 to d2 to b1 to c3, would have continued the grind and maintained pressure. However, Topalov decides to up the ante in his opponent's time pressure. Can Black find all the right defensive moves with his clock rapidly ticking down to nothing? The rest of the game, which has nothing to do with our theme, is given with minimum comments. G takes h5. King takes h5, double question mark, queen f4 wins outright. I think the threat is simply just g4 followed by queen h2 mate, so something like this would be met with this, and check and mate. So okay, f5, the only move, knight g3. Knight takes h5, exclaim. Queen takes e3, check. Queen e7, double question mark. Black cracks in time trouble and plays the losing move. Correct was queen takes d4, when a draw would be the most likely outcome. Queen takes b6 was even stronger. And Black resigns. Here's another example of a player finding a logical, and in this case deadly, sequence of moves by the simple act of trying to enhance an already existing imbalance, which was the pawn weakness on c7 and the inactive bishop versus the active bishop. Bishop a3 was the key move.